Hello, and in this part 2 video I'm going to describe an indoor or outdoor place where it is easy for you to study, and you should say where it is, when you go there, who you go with, and explain why you like to study there. When it comes to studying, to be honest, I'm not the best at studying. I get easily distracted. Therefore, I need to be in a place with few distractions. For this reason, if I have something important to study for, then I tend to work in my home office. Although this is a place where I work during the day, I like going in there to study in the evening, as when I'm in there with the door shut, nobody comes in to disturb me. I've tried doing it in other places in the house, but there are constant interruptions. One of the downsides of studying in my office is my computer, obviously. It takes a lot of willpower to stop myself from logging onto the computer and browsing the internet. But I find if I close the lid of my laptop, then I'm less tempted to do it. Occasionally, if I'm studying for something like the IELTS test, for example, then I will study for 30 minutes and then allow myself a 10-minute break when I go on social media. It is essential to break up studying into smaller chunks because humans have short attention spans. Therefore, after about 20 minutes, we are not focusing very well. So regular breaks make the study time more effective. The view from my office can be distracting because it looks onto my garden, and there is a lot of wildlife that comes into the garden, and I could sit and watch the birds and animals for hours. To combat this, though, I have moved my desk into a position where I'm not directly facing the window, so I don't get as distracted as much as I used to. In terms of who I spend time in this room with, the majority of my study is done alone, and I go into this room to get away from the rest of the household. So let's take a look at some of the language in this answer. So you could start this for any question. So when it comes to reading, when it comes to studying, when it comes to reading newspapers. So very useful phrase to use. To be honest, to be perfectly honest, good to have some discourse markers throughout your answer. I'm not the best at studying. This means I'm not very good at it. So is another way of saying it. I'm not the best at sport. I'm not the best at writing. I'm not the best at studying. I get easily distracted. If you are distracted, you are not focused on what you are doing. Your attention turns to something else. So to get distracted, to get easily distracted. And the noun is distractions. So for example, your phone is a distraction. The TV is a distraction. Home office, this is quite a new word because a lot of people in the UK particularly are now working at home, and we call an office at home a home office. The door shut, this just means the door closed. Nobody comes in to disturb me. To disturb means to interrupt, to distract you. Constant interruptions. So constant means repeated all the time, and constant distractions, constant interruptions. Remember to use downsides instead of saying disadvantages. Takes a lot of willpower. Willpower is the ability to not do something. For example, if you're on a diet, you need willpower to stop yourself from eating lots of cakes and chocolate. If you want to stop smoking, you need willpower to stop yourself having a cigarette. So here I'm saying when I'm studying in my home office, it takes willpower, it takes strength to stop myself from logging on. This is like going on to the computer and browsing the internet, looking on the internet. Close the lid on a laptop, we call the bit that comes down and up the lid. I'm less tempted. If you're tempted to do something, you want to do it. For example, when you're on a diet, you're tempted to eat lots of bad things. But I'm saying here I'm less tempted because it's closed and I would have to open it to use it. Occasionally, from time to time, sometimes. And social media, things like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Essential, important. It is essential that you use lots of other words in your writing and speaking and not use important all the time. To break up studying, this means to put it into small parts, so only do 20 minutes. To break something up is kind of to divide it into smaller pieces, into smaller chunks. A chunk is a piece. So we often talk about a chunk of cheese, a piece of cheese. So smaller pieces. Humans have short attention spans, very complex vocabulary here. So a short attention span. Your attention span is the length of time you are able to focus on something. I think the attention span of a fish is about 20 seconds. In a human, it's about 20 minutes. So after those 20 minutes, you start thinking of other things and you're not focusing. So this is your attention span. And as human beings, we have short attention spans. Regular breaks, frequent breaks, to have breaks often. The view from my office can be distracting. It means that I want to keep looking at it. There is something there that keeps getting my attention. And it's the wildlife, the birds, the animals that are coming into the garden. To combat this, very useful for writing and speaking, and it means to prevent this happening, to stop this happening. So if you were talking about global warming or writing about global warming, this is a very useful way to start a sentence. To combat this, the number of cars on the road should be reduced. Directly facing, this means looking into the garden. Distracted, distracting. So distracted is how I feel. I'm not focused because the view is distracting. The majority are very useful for writing and speaking. IELTS writing, task 1, the majority of most of it. The rest of the household, and it means the other family members. We talk about the house as being like the household. So a lot of useful vocabulary in this. I think the main things, if you get this topic, is to think about distractions, to get easily distracted, things that you find distracting, constant interruptions, short attention span. These are very useful complex phrases for this topic. Thank you for watching.